Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about command line launch options in Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. So let's get right into it. First of all, how do we set them up? And on Steam, that's quite easy to do. You just find your game in the Steam library, you click on Properties, then in the window that opens up, you go under General, and there you have a section with launch options. And you can type your launch options there. Each one should be separated by a space. Now, I'll leave the note as well that as far as I can tell, it's not possible to set up launch options for games in the Microsoft Store. If you do know of a way how to do this, please leave a comment below. However, as far as I can tell, it's not currently possible to do so. So, first up we have Skip Intro. This is quite straightforward. It lets you skip the intro video that plays normally when you boot up the game. Now here, if you're on the Microsoft Store, or just in general, there is an alternative, and that is to use a mod that replaces the intro with a very short blank clip. And the advantage of using the mod in general is that if all your mods are disabled, then you'll notice because the intro video plays. So this could be useful for anyone, and it's the only way you'll be able to skip the intro if you have the Microsoft Store version of the game. Next up, we have debug speeds, and this allows you to speed up the game to 4 times or even 8 times speed. If you want to use this in a match, you'll need to make sure to keep the speed unlocked in the lobby settings, and you'll also want to check what your hotkeys are, since you can't adjust the game speed faster than fast using the options menu. You'll actually have to use hotkeys to increase it to 4 or 8 times speed. This isn't going to be something that you use normally in a game against other human players, but it might be useful in games against the AI, or if you want to test a map or something. I'll also leave the note here that this might impact how well an AI is able to perform, because if the game is going very fast, it has less times to basically run through its rules and execute them. So yeah, I might not perform completely optimally if you're doing like a mega match at 8 times speed. Just something to keep in mind. Next up, we have more map sizes. This was added recently, I think this spring, and what it does is display additional map sizes in the lobby and in the scenario editor. So you have the miniature size, which is smaller than tiny, and then you have a bunch of larger sizes, and they did a bit of a thing where they renamed some of the sizes. So what used to be gigantic is now called the huge size, and the giant size that's listed now is actually a new size, and then it just increases. Ludicrous was already in the game before, but they added a bunch of sizes in between there. So you can pick any of these sizes and generate maps on them. Now, none of the official maps as of the time of recording have received any sort of update to specifically support these sizes. That's not to say that they won't generate, or even that they'll be broken at all. However, none of them have specifically been updated for it, and it means that some maps might not generate completely correctly. Some of them that are perhaps very specialized might just be a complete mess. I just have an example here, looking at Arabia on like this massive size. It's almost completely flat because the hill generation doesn't seem to work, and the relics were spawning under each player's TC instead of scattered around the map. In general, you might have some issues with neutral resources, that they're not scattered properly or something. It just depends on the specific map. As far as I know, no maps, custom or official, have really done anything to support these sizes. I did do it on hyper-random, where I actually went in and set up some scaling for all of these different sizes to nominally support it, but probably most other custom maps you'll find, unless it specifically says so, haven't done anything to account for it. Nevertheless, you can still play around with it, because as you can see, it still generates a map. Most of the features that you need in a map will still be there. So knock yourself out, have fun with it, and maybe in the future more maps will specifically make sure that they can generate properly on all these sizes. Next up, we have the editor launch option. And this is very straightforward. It just boots the game directly into the scenario editor instead of to the main menu. And then, sort of in a similar vein, we have the launch game variant launch option, and you can choose the variants of AoE 1 or AoE 2 currently. And that will specifically boot the game into either AoE 2 or Return of Rome mode. So if you always play AoE 1, then you could do that. As far as I know, it just keeps your most recently played setting anyway, but if you exclusively play one mode, you could add this to always make sure you launch there. And also you can combine it with other commands, of course, so you could combine it with the editor command and specifically launch into the AoE 1 scenario editor, for example. Now we have some additional, more technical commands, which I'm not going to go over in detail. Basically, these are useful if you're doing AI scripting, and they might be useful if a developer is trying to help you with an issue and asks you to log some additional things and send you the log files. Otherwise, for general use, you probably wouldn't need these. And finally, is there any more? And the answer is yes. The exe contains a whole bunch of launch options, most of which do not work. Additionally, there were launch options for the CD version and for the HD edition. Most of those don't work in DE either. I did a Steam guide on those, and here's just a screenshot. If you want, you can pause the video and look at them for those versions of the game. But for DE, the ones that I've shown in this presentation are the entirety of the ones that we know that work in release versions of DE currently. It's possible that more of them work. I have a big spreadsheet of all these potential ones, but as far as we know, none of the other ones actually can be used to do anything in release versions of the game. So that's all. Thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful, and talk to you next time, perhaps.